Well, there has been a growing trend of business marketing of their services and products online, a dynamic environment where traditional marketing tools don't cut it anymore. Companies are turning to the aid of technology. But the virtual world has its own rules and ethics. How can companies get to grips with the new ways of doing business? One of South Africa's entrepreneurial success stories is Quirk eMarketing, who are assisting the business community in formulating and implementing successful online marketing strategies. Rob Stokes is the Chief Executive Officer of Quirk eMarketing. He joins us now to tell us more about the online marketing. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Hannah.
Well, let's just start with online marketing and why it is imperative for business today.
Well, I think it's the new wave of marketing. It's measurable. It's quite successful, and certainly in times of difficult economies, it's the type of marketing that marketers turn to.
Now, what's the size of the online marketing industry, or if you were to measure it, especially here in South Africa?
So in South Africa, compared with global standards, it is quite small, but it's growing very quickly. Obviously, there are a huge number of South Africans online, but particularly as the internet becomes more accessible on mobile devices, it will grow quite a lot.
So when you're putting your business or your campaign on the internet, where are you putting it so that people who are surfing can get to see it?
Well, look, I think the most important thing is search engines. Most internet visits to websites start with Google, let's be honest. So the first tactic is to make sure that your website is at the top for the search engines, and that will drive a lot of visitors. But then you need to make sure that those visitors keep coming back to your site and ultimately buy your product or whatever service you're offering.
Now, how do you do that? Because there are so many out there. When you just click and open your internet, you just bombarded with all these ads. So how do you put yours that yours is noticed and people, like you said, continue to visit your site?
I think for me the key word is to be remarkable. I think advertising in its traditional form is not as successful online. With search marketing, people are looking for your business. So if you're there front and center, they're going to come after you. But for example, with email marketing, if you treat it like an advertising medium, it'll become ineffective. But if you make it a part of people's lives and add real value, they will eventually come on board and hopefully become one of your customers.
Now, you have written something that is the first textbook on e-marketing. Now, was it because you felt that people didn't know quite how to do it? What was the whole purpose behind it for you?
As an agency, Quirk has been teaching online marketing and writing about it for years. And about almost a year ago now, we read about an event in Cape Town called the Open Education Declaration, which aims to make educational resources freely accessible to all people. And when we read about this, we just realized that as an agency, this was our destiny, if you can call it that. As I said, we have been doing it for years, and to put all our knowledge into a book and then make it freely accessible online, anyone can go and download it. It just seemed like the right thing to do, I guess.
Now, one of the things this is internet, and when we look at where we've come far with computers, and I remember just when I was in college already, so much has happened in that time. Do you feel that this is material that you're going to have to review as frequently as technology and as frequently as computers and the internet change?
Absolutely. Look, we'll be bringing out a new printed version of the book once a year, and we hope to update it at least twice a year online, potentially more often if things change radically. Thankfully, now that it's written, updating it becomes fairly easy, although, as you said, the internet does change very quickly. So the more up-to-date we keep, the better.
Now, you also started an open education initiative. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I wish I could take credit for that. It's an initiative started by a range of people, I think pioneered by the Shuttleworth Foundation. As I said, it aims to make all educational resources accessible to all. And I think as a believer in open sources, we've always been at Quirk. It's something that we can really buy into. Education is the one thing that, if I may say, can really change South Africa.
Now, you're one of those people that has studied online marketing for quite a long time, so you're the perfect person to be speaking about it. When you look into if you were to make projections, where do you think that this is going?
Well, mobile is going to be enormous. At the moment, most South Africans who do access the internet access on a mobile device, but it's still very small. The average cell phone, the user experience on the internet is not incredible. But certainly as that changes, as technology advances, and you start getting hundreds of millions of Africans, particularly accessing the internet on a mobile device, then the game really will change quite fundamentally. For example, search marketing on a mobile device is almost fundamentally different to how it is on the internet. People generally search in a far more location-based way, whereas on the broader internet, it's far more general. So one needs to adjust one's strategy to accommodate that.
So how has the business community received the material that you have written concerning online marketing?
Look, I think that the community has been looking for this kind of thing for quite a while. Look, there's no rocket science in this book. Certainly our real trade secrets we've kept in our heads. But if you read this book, it will give you a solid foundation of how to get going in online marketing, whether you're a student or a marketing professional who needs to skill up to this new digital medium.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning and telling us about that. Rob Stokes, Chief Executive Officer, Quirk eMarketing.
Thank you.
So much for joining us this morning.